All right, the sun just went down in the food forest. It's my pawpaw tree. And I think these couple of shoots right here, I'm gonna try an air layer and get them to root and then remove them from that tree and let one trunk grow from this tree. And then plant these little shoots out throughout the forest because these grow great as an understory and they don't need a lot of light. They grow kind of scrawny and that's the way they produce the best fruit. I planted this today and I had to make sure and add lots and lots of sand to the mix, and I dug the hole really big. I also planted some comfrey at the base that I just got in the mail, some Bocking 14. It's a kind that does not produce from seed, it only produces from cutting, so it won't spread, which is kind of nice. It makes a great organic fertilizer. But this is a beach plum and these typically grow in sand dunes, so this clay isn't the best environment for it, so you have to amend it quite a bit. So I mixed compost and a little bit of the native soil with a whole bunch of sand and hopefully it'll do well, and some fertilizer. We'll see what happens. Also experimenting with tip layering. I learned this trick with cane berries, so blackberries, raspberries, anything like that that grows from the cane. If it starts to grow pretty tall, you can just bury the tip and it'll send up a new shoot where you buried it, and then you can sever it from the plant and it'll be a whole new plant, so you can move it. So I'm going to propagate this thornless blackberry. I've got a couple other thornless blackberries over here, a couple different varieties, so I'm going to keep propagating these and spreading them throughout this little berry and fruit tree area. This is another native peach that I cut back last year, right about belly button high. You can see it's growing perfectly. It's gonna manage really well. The thing was like a perfect size. Same with this one. I've been cutting this one. Look at the trunk on it. It's all gnarled and split and moving all kinds of which ways. But this thing's grown pretty well. I cut this one back and I tried my hand at a graft. I don't know if you can see that. I did a graft, even in the summertime. I figure if it doesn't stick, I'm just gonna cut that part out anyway. So why not try a graft? You can see the cucumbers are really liking. I had put some branches in upside down, so they branched out along the ground and then led up to a little central leader, which led up to the fence where I let this privet grow. These are just leaning against here. This is a privet that was wild and they're almost impossible to get rid of, but you can prune them really well. They're a hedge type of bush, so they sculpt really easily. Good old Edward Scissorhands. Those were privet hedges. So that's what these will do if you prune them. So I can't get rid of them, but at least I can sculpt them the way that I'd like them. So that's pretty cool. And I'm gonna have tons of cucumbers. I don't know if you guys see this, but there are flowers everywhere in there, and a bunch of little cute tiny cucumbers and stuff. It's hard to focus on them. It's kind of dark right now, but just tons and tons of cucumbers. There's some watermelons sprawling out. Got a few little watermelon flowers. I just put down some more straw, so it's kind of covering up the leaves and stuff. But I'm seeing beans, I'm getting flowers. These are purple beans, and they'll just fix nitrogen in this brand new hugelkultur. I think squash and melons and cucumbers and stuff like that will sprawl out over top of it if you can just give them a little pocket of good soil. They work pretty good. Planted another one. See, my pollinators are doing well. It's a perennial coneflower. It looks just like echinacea. I don't know if it is or not, but I don't know. I'm not gonna make teas and stuff out of this one, but it will attract beneficials and they'll come back every year. Shasta daisies. Again, they've got straw all over them. And I've got my favorite little friends here, even with bug spray. Mosquito! Okay, I had to turn the flash on. Look at this. Sweet potatoes and asparagus beans growing up the same vine. And I'm trying to get them to take over these thorny vines. These things suck. Look at them growing straight up into the tree layer. So to kind of tackle this little thorny vine hedge, I don't know what to do. Every time I cut it, it spreads like crazy. I'm trying to plant different vining layers that'll kind of make a little barrier. And potatoes are good rhizome barrier, along with like garlic and ginger and stuff like that. Nothing, the root system can't grow past a really thick rhizome thicket like that, like a root layer. So that's what I'm planning with this, and then this is going to be more raised bed. I'm going to, add on to this part. Got a couple of pallets from work for free. That's going to be my little nursery area. Got a Rubbermaid bin that I drilled a ton of holes in, and that's my compost heap. Don't have anything in there right now. I'm kind of composting in the open, and I just did that hugel bed, so that's going to compost from the inside out. But this fall I'm gonna have tons of leaves and stuff and accumulate garden waste and stuff throughout the year. So I'm gonna compost in that bin and kind of in this pile here. You can see I threw out some corn husks. I made a really good Cajun cream corn, and I used like a dozen ears of corn. So I just kind of forked that in with some grass clippings and leaves and stuff, and let that kind of break down and do its thing. Keep adding on to it over the year. I'm supposed to be getting a truckload of wood chips here pretty soon, so cover that up with wood chips and let it compost over the winter, and it'll be a perfect little pile for me to dress up this hugel bed and the berry area. Everything's in the dark right now, but I removed the fence today and everything's a lot more wild. It's gonna be just a lot like a forest, but just selectively grown. So I like that. Get rid of this iron stuff and replace it with natural thornless blackberries and canes and stuff like that, and beach plums that are going to sprawl out and stuff. So natural hedge layers instead of these. But I put these in a year or so ago just to like keep the dogs in. Now I don't have dogs, so I'm not worried about it. I don't know if you can see it, it's nighttime. This is a thornless blackberry. You can see I just laid down some straw mulch. It's all over the leaves and stuff. That's better. I'm going to keep propagating this and let it help take over the wild blackberry, the thorn kind. So this will kind of eventually choke out this thorny variety, where every time I see these popping up, I'm going to plant them along here also. At least I can move them where I want and kind of prune them. That way they won't get out of control. But this is a Santa Rosa plum, and I finally planted it. I was thinking about trying to graft it to one of these trees and just get explosive growth off of it, because I'm not sure if these peaches are a good variety, but I think if I just keep sculpting them and pruning them for fruit production instead of just growing wild and scraggly or just huge like those other ones, I think if I prune these and get them to, do a maximum yield, they'll be pretty cool trees. And I planted them in a row. These, all of these right here, that's one, that's another one. There's a little tiny one. There's a couple back there. They're just natural. They were growing back here, and they were growing straight up to get light above this canopy. This was a little tiny privet bush, and you can see it's like straight up. It's like 40 feet tall. I can probably prune it back a little bit and get it to fill out some more. So my biggest challenge, canopy management. Little pocket of light.